How's it going? Wait for a few people to come on and we'll get started. That bright light is bright. No, it's too dark. Hold on 1 second. Just so bright. Here we go, a little better. I got a wicked glare on my end. There we go. What's up, buddy? Oh, cool. Looks good.
Ready? It's gonna poop.
Andrew, do my video, buddy. Please take that in the good. Go out there, buddy.
Ooh.
So how's everybody doing tonight?
Good.
Little guy. Awesome. Did you guys get a chance to check out that video I posted earlier about the the power video? That has some pretty good stuff in there about gear ratios and that sort of thing. So it's pretty cool. Oh, I get comfortable. Yeah. Over 8. That was my problem. I over 8. Well, we started on Alvin's bike. We get that start working on his electrical mess there that's going on with his bike, getting that crack-a-lacking. Let's see what else we got going on. We got the I started looking for some stuff for my DS 100, and we got I found the carburetor, but slide is incorrect on that one, so I got to get a new, possibly a whole new carburetor, like $35. So, oh, awesome! Thank you, Kenneth. Yeah, that came out. I was trying to find the best way to explain that with the gear ratios and stuff, and I figured that right there would help out a lot of people explain that way. It's always nice when you can show them and revert back to a time when they would, when they used it, especially when you don't really know how the gear ratios work. It can be really complicated. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, the old bike, and I wanted to show how the clutches were versus what the power was. So when you can see like how small the clutch is and the strain that it has to do to move the bike with your weight. A lot of times we don't look at our personal weight being an issue on these bikes, and then we're trying to select a gear ratio that's going to propel these bikes, and they are small bikes. KE100 is a small bike. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's a great bike, and it has a lot of potential. And I feel like when I was doing that video, I personally felt like I was attacking the bike, but I really wasn't. So I didn't want to deter people from that. So I'm going to be showing different things that you can do to better the bike. That's going to be on some of the other power series. I kind of like doing the power series. I think it's educational, and you can get a better understanding of your bike through that series. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. It's been a long day, guys. A very, very long day. But we're going to be working on I believe it does. I believe the whole KE series has that. I think on the KE 175, I think it has 6 pucks instead of the 4. But same principle. You can there's a couple of different things you can do with those rubber pucks. I call them pucks. You can take those out in polyurethane, and they have videos on how to make engine mounts, motor mounts for cars with polyurethane. You can do the same thing with the rim and center that all in there with an axle going through it. And what that'll do is it'll stiffen that up and take less vibration away or less dampening. Or you can do what I'm going to do is I'm going to where the 4 bolts come through to bolt on the sprocket. I'm going to weld all those in, and then I'm going to leave the rubber pucks in there, and then I'm going to MIG weld all the way around, or TIG weld all the way around it, and then it'll be one solid rim. And I think that idea would give the bike more takeoff. But whenever you're doing something like that to a bike that's designed the way it is, remember it's a give and take. So if the studs strip out, you're gonna have a heck of a time replacing them. If you break a stud or something like this, you gotta be more careful with it when you're taking it apart. Or you can make it solid and thread it. You can do that too. Yeah, that's really what you're doing is absorbing the shock. When you absorb the shock, because that those pucks take the beating, the initial twist, and then the bike goes. And that's why it's so harder to do a wheelie on these, because that literally takes the power away. So when you put the power at the handlebars and you're expecting the front wheel to come up and it can't come up because you literally just, instead of punching it, you kind of bopped it. You're like, I'm gonna bop you. Yeah. Oh, that's basically what you did when you hit the throttle. There was no power to it. I mean, all the power got knocked out of it by hitting the rubber, and then the bike went. You know, so I see these videos and these people riding a wheelie on a KE100, and other people ask, Kevin, how do you do that? Well, there's a couple ways you can do a wheelie on a KE100. None of them I recommend, but I mean, you could literally stand on the back pegs, goose it, and pull up at the same time, and you'll get the front wheel up off the ground, and then you can sit on the seat and ride it that way. But these bikes aren't designed for that. You know, they are totally not designed for that type of abuse. Um, and that's really what it is. It's pure abuse. Um, they just can't handle it. And you saw how small the clutch was. That clutch pack doesn't have the real estate to carry the whole drive system. You know, through that type of range. So once again, it's just unnecessarily beaten on a bike that really don't deserve it. You know. And then, of course, at the end, when the bike clutch strips out of it, something breaks, the puck blows apart. Now the bike's a piece of junk. You know, oh, I should have bought a Honda. You know, or I bet you Suzuki wouldn't do this. And I hear everything, guys. You would not believe what I hear. You would not believe the stories I hear. It's crazy. I hear so much. How come my bike's not doing this? How come my bike's not doing that? And it's like, well, it depends on what you're trying to do with it. You know, if oh I'm trying to keep up with my friend's KX, you're not gonna. 30 horsepower versus 11 horsepower. That's a big difference. Yeah, I mean, you just got to basically measure it out, make sure it's the proper thickness. On Alvin's bike, I did that video with the clutch. You can revert to that video, not Alvin, Aaron's bike. And I went right through his bike. I measured the clutches. I showed you guys how to do that, what to look for, what to inspect. The clutch baskets are, you can get the clutch baskets, but it's very hard to get them new. So I showed how you clean them up, take out the grooves, how they stick, that sort of thing. I mean, basically, people are just beating the crap out of these bikes, and they're really not. They're not taking proper care of them. You know. Oh, thank you. Yeah, that was a real thorough clutch video. I'm trying to get these videos as thorough and 100% dead on as possible. So when you guys get this information, you're getting it directly, 100%, and you can do it right the first time. That's my goal, and teach you guys how to properly do it. You would not believe. Alvin's bike, someone stuck a screwdriver through the magneto to try to hold the flywheel from spinning and ruin the 2 lighting coils. and apparently they couldn't break it free the first time, so they put it in a different spot and broke the other coil. Um, I run into that all the time, and then I hear people go, "Well, how do you get the flywheel off? You have to use a special tool." Well, I don't want to spend the money on the tool. Well, if you want to take it off with a hammer, you can also buy a flywheel. You know, if you can't afford the tool, you can't afford the bike. That's what I always say. But there are different things you don't need to buy. Like, I use on my videos. I use the piston stuff. If you need to stop the piston from rotating, so you can take the flywheel nut off, you can use a shoestring. You can use a rope. Just as long as they're clean, you can stick them in the spark plug hole, wind it up until it all bunches up, and then you won't be able to do it. Hi, Tyler. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, so that's one way you can stop the flywheel from rotating. The other way is there's a tool that they make. It's got two pins, and it goes into the flywheel, two windows, but it doesn't go in far enough to hit anything. So yeah, the rope is a really good idea. I actually learned that working on leaf blowers and backpack blowers, because when you're working on, like, say, the Red Max, they have a smaller, it looks like the Honda 50 spark plug. It's real tiny threads, and they don't make a piston stop for it. So we put the shoestring in there, and it locks it right out. Happy New Year to you too, and yeah, happy. This is our first 2-stroke Tuesday in the new year, so that's pretty cool, huh? Yeah, you can use that to bunch it up, stop the flywheel from turning, and then wrench on it. And it's perfectly acceptable. And it doesn't do any damage. Back it off, pull it out. Just got to make sure that the whole amount of string you put in is what you get out. Um, and that's pretty much it for that. I mean, cheap tools. Sometimes I fabricate tools. As you guys know, I did my series on what I have for tools. Yep, the oh yeah, yeah, yeah. If you don't have them in all the way, they can do that. Or if you put in too much force, I mean, because it's leverage. So when you're prying down on that, you're putting all that, you're pushing that piston up against that piston stop. I know on the KD80s they have heel coils in them automatically, and that could do it. Yeah, those can be fun. Dual carbs are not easy to take out. I do it on my Virago all the time when I was pulling those apart. I never really used a suicide shifter. Basically, what that is the shifter's up by the tank, and they call it a suicide shifter because you have to take your hand off the handlebar to shift by hand. There's a heel to toe shifter, which is basically a pivot point in the middle, and then you can use your toe or your heel. And they take a little bit of getting used to. I just use the one that's on there because it's so convenient. Oh well, yeah. I mean, yeah, never. You can use an impact gun to take them apart, but don't use an impact gun to put them together. Use a torque wrench. Always use a torque wrench. Always take the time to look up the bolt torque, because that little nut that goes on the end, you can either strip the threads right out of it, or I've seen it at times where they break that crank right off. Yeah, yeah. My Viragos, they're like this. One cop faces one way, one faces the other. They got the V twin there, and yeah, they're pretty. You're welcome. That's They're pretty in there. I'll also tell you a little trick. When you go to put the carbs back on, take a little bit of grease or oil and rub it on the inside of the intake on both of them, and it will slide back in. Don't try putting it back together dry. You're welcome. And if you're gonna put your intake boots on for the air filter and stuff like that, Sometimes they're really hard and they can't get those on there. You can boil water and put them in water, or if you have a heat gun, you can heat them up and it softens them up, and then they pop right on. Yeah, it's you can get those on that way. Heat guns work. I like using the heat gun because you can just soften them up as you go and then pop right back on there. And just make sure you don't forget to put the clamps on first, then you put it on. But yeah, I ran into all of that. I, and, oh, I'm working on trying to find my parts for my DS100, and I got to get a carburetor for that. So kind of bummed about that, but it's a parts bike. It wasn't built. It wasn't. I was expecting it to be just a parts bike. I thought the engine was junk. Turns out it has good compression, and the piston's not all scored up. So now I gotta locate some parts for that for the DS100, and then I'll have one of those in the Lord. So, so tired. Been a long day. I shot that video today and posted today. So yeah, the DS100. I have a DS80 and a DS100, and I'm in the process of putting it together. It needs a lot of work, a lot of love, but oh, you're perfectly on time, Jesus. No grocery stores will do that to you. Yeah, I mean, you can, like I said, heat them up, lube them, put a little bit of, grease, Vaseline, oil, whatever you can put on there, and it will slide right back together. And can I explain how to test? Yes, compression test is the same on a 2-stroke as a 4-stroke. You hook your compression tester in, you hold your throttle wide open with the ignition off, and then you kick it. And you want to see 120 psi or better. If it's below that, then you could have some issues with on a 4-stroke. It could be damage to a valve. Could be carbon buildup on one side of the valve, which is very common, um, or even a stuck valve. And if your compression is low on a 4-stroke engine, the first thing you want to do is take your little caps off where your valve adjustments are and check your valve adjustments. Um, because if they're too tight, you'll have low compression. That's the first starting point. Just like I did on the Z50 motor was I had low compression. Did I ship a 1993 K100 to you? Absolutely. Yep. What I would do with that, Landon, is send me a message on the what do you call it there on my email. What do you call it? Here we go. Hold on. Just bear with me. Okay. That's my email right there. Send me a message on that right there. We'll talk about all that. I don't want to talk about all that type of stuff on on chats. The but yeah, I do. I go right through them. What is wrong with the motor? I always ask that because sometimes you just never know what's going on with them. I am located in Methuen, Massachusetts. I moved from New Hampshire to Massachusetts. Happy New Year to you too. Yes, I am working on doing a bike run up the Kangamangas Highway in what do you call it? It goes from Ossipee, New Hampshire, all the way up to Loon Mountain. Oh, no spark would be that's an easy one. Points and condensers. Replace those, gap them, set them. That'd be the best way. Oh, cool. Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. Yeah, definitely come up. I'm also in Massachusetts, so yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. Yeah, I'm planning on doing a. I'm still working out the nuts and bolts on all that. It's something for the fall. providing the coronavirus goes. It's something I've been wanting to do. So I think it'd be fun to gather, get together with everybody and just have a good old 2-stroke time, Just ride, do like a cookout or something, hang out, chit chat, share stories on bikes, and be fun, I think it'd be a cool thing to do, and just a way to give back, And I also like seeing the bikes too. I like seeing you guys' bikes. A lot of you guys sent me a lot of pictures of bikes, and I think that's really cool because when I see you guys' bikes, they inspire me. So exactly, yeah, just ride, just cruise, get them out there, and it's pretty cool. It's 32 miles one direction and then 32 miles back. They got campsites up there. It's endless. What you can do. Hiking, camping, bike riding. There's trails. There's everything up in that area. So it's really super cool. Yeah. So I'm excited about it. And I got the trailer. I got the truck. So I mean, hauling bikes, not an issue. You know. So I think it'll be fun. Be fun. It's just one more thing that we can do. As a community, as a biking community, 2-stroke community. I do feel bad once again about that last video. I really wasn't knocking the bikes. I just want you guys to see what you guys have. That's the biggest thing is to understand what these bikes are, and I can't stress that enough because I have a lot of hammerheads that go home that just get on these bikes and they full throttle. And they're like, full throttle, I'm only going 55 miles an hour. Shouldn't I be doing like 70, 80 miles an hour? How come I can't do a wheelie? Yeah, I know, right? Now, there's a ride for you. Yeah, there's a ride for you. But yeah, I mean, oh, God. I can't believe how much stuff. Like, I burned up my clutch. I blew apart my clutch basket. What were you doing with the bike? you know? Oh, what I do is I don't use the clutch to shift. I just drop it in the gear every time I go. What? That's what I'm saying. I go, what? What are you talking about? Oh, yeah, I ride it like I stole it. No, guys, don't deal with that, And I tell people, like, oh, he's like, oh, I won't keep up with my friend's KX. Of course not. 30 horsepower versus 11. Oh, I can't tell you how much I run into this, guys. Oh. The newest one was, my KD80 is faster than my KE100. Of course it is. It's a short stroke. It torques up faster. Small wheel. It's going to go faster. The KD80 is faster than the KE100. All right, so the compression test on my old Yamaha quad runs fine. I think you have a bad compression gauge because at 40 psi, that thing won't even start. Oh, it has a decompression valve. Okay. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to shut your valve off and do the compression test with it off. Because I was going to say 40 psi, it won't even run. That sounded like that knocks it down. So what you're going to want to do is shut the compression valve off manually and then do the compression test. Same way, hold it full throttle, kick it, or electric start, however it starts, and just keep your thing right into it. And basically, what I do is I count elephants. I count 6 to 7 elephants because it takes a second to say elephant. So I'm like 1 elephant, 2 elephant, 3 elephant, 4 elephant, 5 elephant, 6 elephant, 7 elephant, and then take your hand off the button and then see what your compression test is. It should jump right up. So that's definitely a thing. Yeah, once it kicks off, it fires. Yeah, because once you shut that off, the compression goes over the 40 and goes up to at least, on a 4-stroke, at least 90. But 90 is still in the bad. You want 120 or better. 120 is right across the board for all engines. Right across. most gauges even start off at one. Like you'll see the green mark start at 120 and then work their way up. And that's always the rule of thumb. Anything below that is considered low compression, and it could be a bad valve, piston ring, scored cylinder, stuck rings, bent valve, broken valve, stuck valve, blown head gasket. Any of those things could cause low compression. But if you saw my Z50 video, the one that I got from Harvey Spooner, the compression on that motor was 50 psi. I checked the valve adjustments; that was fine. I put a little bit of oil in there, and then I like one cap full of oil into the intake, and that thing boosted up to 150. It was still climbing. I had to stop, and it turned out stuck rings. So how that works is if you do a compression test and you put oil in it, and then the compression comes up. Let's say it blows oil out the intake. Well, that means your intake valve is leaking. If it blows it out the exhaust, your exhaust is leaking. If it doesn't blow it anywhere and the compression comes up, then you have a stuck ring. If it blows it out the side between the head gasket, you'll see that. It'll pretty much show you where your leak is, which is nice. That's a helpful thing. You just got to make sure that when you're doing them, you know what you're looking at. Like the intake side, the exhaust side. When you put the oil in. If your motor's all together and complete, you're not going to see it come out the carburetor. You're not going to see it come out the exhaust. So then at that point, you'd have to pull one of them to evaluate it. Sorry, guys. So tired. So tired. Hey, Tony. Yeah, you're in the plus or minus. Yep. So your goal is for 120, which is what you should be at. I would keep an eye on that, but you have to understand gauges are all off too. I have a snap-on gauge, I have a Craftsman gauge, and I have a Harbor Freight gauge, and all three of them read differently. That's very common. If they've been sitting, they always stick. No, I mean, I always go with the Barnett clutches because the Barnett clutches they've been around for a long time. They're actually top of the line, but I'm not gonna lie to you. There is a $13 clutch set on eBay. It's $13, $14, and it actually works pretty good. I didn't have any issues with it, and in fact, it's still in one of my bikes. I think it's in my KM, I believe, and I paid $13 for it brand new, and it's in one of my clutch videos, and it's in a black box. I forgot which one it was, but I mean, a clutch is a clutch on these little bikes. You're not going to get better than a Barnett. I mean, that's on any bike for that matter. But if you're looking for a decent quality clutch, Barnett would be my top pick. And then anything's really going to be a good clutch on these bikes. These bikes are they're only 11 horsepower, so they do last. And if you use a good quality motor oil and you let them soak before you install them, you'll be good. You can tell your rotary valve needs replacing, lack of power. Now all engines are going to spit a little bit of fuel out the intake. That happens. All it's going to do. But you would have an excessive amount. What do you call it? Your compression can be low. You could have low compression on a rotary valve engine from a bad rotary valve. And you would hear it chattering. You can hear it chatter when the motor's running. And then what will happen is you lay the bike on its side with it running a little bit, not like lay it down flat, but at an angle, and you'll hear the chattering go away. And then you right the bike back up, and you'll hear the chattering again, and you lean it the other way. And if you hear the chattering, you have a bad rotary valve. Yes, I have shaved the head on a long to increase the compression. When I was in high school, Scott, I'll tell you a funny story. We used to do all kinds of things. So what we used to do on lawnmowers, we even so on the compression, not where the valves are, but on a regular L head lawnmower where you got the two valves on one side and a piston on the side. Then on the combustion chamber, it starts to go up. We used to drill and tap bolt holes and put bolts in there to increase it. And shave them so they didn't hit the head. We did that to increase it. We did. My teacher did a JB weld. He actually cleaned the whole thing inside there and made a different pattern for the compression, and it actually held together for a little while and ran. And you got to see some different performance things. We decked a Briggs and Stratton. It was a 5 horsepower. We decked it so that the when the piston came up to the top, it was zero deck. And then we of course shaped the cylinder head. Then this gasket we could, all kinds. We used to play around with those all the time. Yes, you can. So typically, if you have a rotary disc in your hand, which I had one with me, I'll show you. Typically, the edges were very sharp when they're worn thin. There is a measurement for thickness, so you can check your thickness and what do you call it there. And the other thing you're gonna notice is if it's scoring on both sides or one side. So what you're looking for is discoloration, like you'll actually see the chrome finish worn off, and it will look like copper or nickel underneath. Oh, cool. Yeah, you can definitely do that. Just gotta make sure you're doing it level. Um, Oftentimes you could take them to a machine shop and they could take off however many thousands you want. But just remember, you got to make sure you measure when your valves open up. You want to make sure if it's an L head, you want to make sure there's clearance. And yeah, you can get away with some stuff. And different motors have different compression ratios. So, like, say you have a 3.5 horsepower, you could take one off of another, like a 2.25 or something like that, that would have a smaller chamber, and you can use that head on them. You can use different camshafts. So you can use like if you have a 3.5 horsepower, you can use say a 4 horsepower cam and put that in there. As long as it's the same diameter and the same timing, you can use that. We used to do that all the time. Take the L head motors and switch out the cams and put a 4 horsepower cam in a 3.5 and do all kinds of crazy stuff. Just make sure you measure them first. But yeah, you do all kinds of things. We used to play around with the plastic cams. So you had plastic cam lobes on a steel shaft, and they're splined. And we used to warm them up with a heat gun, take them off, and move them one tooth opposite directions. Oh yeah, and you can hear that thing chug. Oh yeah, we should do that stuff all the time. You could take a steel plate, mount it where the coil goes, and then mount the coil on slides so you can move the timing, advance or retard it. Yep, you can do that too. Get a little bit more power out of it that way too. We used to do some crazy stuff with mowers. A lot of crazy stuff. Yep, those days are all gone. I had a Briggs Stratton mini bike. I forgot who made the mini bike. I paid $5 for it to have Hable salvage yard, and it was just a chassis. And then I had a Briggs Stratton 3.5 horsepower. I put that motor on. Then I went to a 5 and centrifugal clutch.
Is it okay if I send some pictures?
After, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we had a lot of fun doing that type of stuff. We had a lot of fun making riding lawnmowers into go karts. Before we even did that, we had a street called Lancaster in Haverhill, and we used to park the riding lawnmowers up top. No motors, no brakes, and what we would do is a bunch of my buddies would push it, and we go down the hill, and man, I will tell you, that thing was fast. You couldn't stop. Couldn't stop. And then when you get down to the bottom of the hill, you try to get the machine over to the dirt and then use the friction to slow you down. Yep, those are good times. Very, very good times. Yeah, we used to do all that type of stuff. Then we got into dirt bikes, and oh man, I've done some crazy stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Yep. Oh, we have a couple of more bikes coming, guys. A GT80 and MX80. They're from a fellow subscriber who asked me to work on his bike and go through it like I normally do. So he's going to bring up his bike. Brian is his name. And he's going to bring up his bikes and we're going to go through them. So one of them actually is going to go back to him and one he's dropping off for me to have. So, which is pretty cool. So that's a big cool thing. So we have another bike to do. And on top of all the other bikes. So, back burner stuff, of course, we got a lot ahead. It's almost getting to the point where I'm going to need an apprentice, but yeah, it's pretty cool. We got a lot of bikes, a lot of stuff. We have enough stuff right through the spring and summer, so gonna be making some time to check out the Harvey Spooner four-wheelers and pick parts and pieces. So we'll be doing that soon. I'm going to finish off Alvin's bike first. Then we're working on Dave's. We got to clean his block, put the check the crank and all that, and find out what's going on with it, and then put that all back together. That's gonna be fun. We're gonna have a lot of bench time on that motor. A lot of cleaning, a lot of metal, and I gotta see if I can find out where that metal came from. Is it clutch? Is it where did it come from? Where all that metal come from? Because we don't know. And nothing looks worn at this point. So, but it had to come from somewhere. Something's wearing, and put that type of metal into the bottom, or unless it's never had its oil change. Yes, it will leak. So what happens is when the piston travels down, it creates pressure in the block. Okay, that pressure pushes against the valve and closes it off. So if you're what do you call it there? If that's opened, it'll have compression, but it's going to be very low, and it could cause backfiring and that sort of thing. So yeah, that could be a cause of low compression. Same thing with a what do you call it there? Excuse me. A reed valve setup that can also give you low compression. So you want to make sure that your rotary valve is timed and good. Yes, it is. Compression leakage can happen in gaskets, but like I said, when that piston travels down, it's putting positive pressure on the cases. Okay, it's pushing out in all different directions. So it's going to take all that fuel and air and pump it up onto the top of the on top of the cylinder. That air charge that comes in is what builds up on top of the piston and gets compressed. If the rotary valve is leaking or is bad, what's happening is the air, instead of coming in, staying in, some of that air is getting pushed back out. So you're getting a little air on top of the cylinder to be compressed. So it's all about the air going in. That's why when you're doing a compression test, you hold the throttle, full throttle, to get as much air into the engine as possible. Because the engine is an air pump. You're welcome. That's a possibility. I mean, a sign of a leaky crank seal would be when you let off the throttle, the bike would still climb on the RPMs. It would still be racing, and it won't calm down. You'll see a lot of white smoke. It'll want to run away on you. It just won't calm down. You'll be adjusting the carburetor to bring the throttle down, and that'll lower the RPMs. But the second you hit that throttle again, and that plate opens up, it'll just be screaming, and it'll cause a lean condition. So a leaky crank seal will cause the engine to over rev. It will cause detonation, like pinging, excessive white smoke. It won't calm down, and what was the other thing? The temperature of the motor will climb too. How you doing, Matthew? I might be able to find. Um, 1999. I'm sorry, 1996 to 2001. KE100s had the CDI. Wood chippers notorious. If it's been sitting with fuel in it, yes. The problem with a wood chipper typically is they're not used all the time. So the fuel goes bad inside the cylinder, and then inside the carburetor, and that's what makes it go bad. It's really not a carb issue. It's more of a carb sitting with with fuel in it that goes bad. Okay, so now, have you had the rotary valve off before? Because if it won't start, you got to start off with the first thing you got to do is check compression. If it's not 120, that could be a problem. So, what is your compression right now again? Check your compression, and always, 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 if you have spark, but the engine still won't run, and your compression is good, and you got a good fuel system, good clean fuel system. Oh yeah, no, they need, yeah, they premix. I get that a lot. The premix problems. Um, yeah, definitely have to wind that back and hook up your oiler, because it's needed. Check your compression and check your spark. If you have spark and you have good compression and you got clean fuel, I would then go ahead and replace my spark plug. I have found a lot of engines just simply need a new spark plug. And if a spark plug is sparking, that doesn't mean the spark plug is good. I know it sounds crazy, but they burn inside. So you have your little electrode that comes down through the center, and then you get your your gap, okay, and then the spark jumps from here to here to the ground. Well, anyway, what happens is up inside here, that fuel gets up in there and burns it out. It'll still spark at the bottom, but it doesn't have enough power, enough heat to ignite the fuel. You're welcome. So definitely, definitely, definitely check your compression. So I'm going to be doing checklist. It's one of the things I'm going to be doing pretty soon. And yeah, so you might not be getting fuel. You don't know. Yeah, check your compression first. Start with that. I'm going to be doing a checklist of what to check first on bikes, and I think it's going to be helpful. I think it's going to be very, very helpful for people that diagnostics, because I see a lot of these bikes getting damaged by repairs that are unnecessary. And like that guy took the flywheel off with a screwdriver into the magneto, and then says, "Oh, my magneto's bad. Kevin, do you have another one?" No, I don't. I'm not. I'm not selling you a magneto that's damaged because you didn't want to buy the right tool. You know what I'm saying? So um, I tell people, don't put anything in those little windows. It's not how you hold a cylinder. So it kind of goes back to that. You had one person with a premix burnt up a cylinder. And what happened was, premixed the bike, rode to the gas station, realized he was low on fuel, filled up the gas. Guess what he didn't add to the gas? Mix. Oh, I didn't have to do that before. Of course not, because you had an oil tank and an oil injection system. Now you have to premix them. Before you can't premix it in your gas tank. You got to do it in a regular 5 gallon or a 2.5 gallon tank before you put it in your bike. You know. I had another one go. I premixed 50 to 1, Kevin. Well, that's too light. That's what you'd put in a chainsaw. Well, ain't that what 2-stroke mix is? 50 to 1. It's just right on the ball. You mix it 50 to 1. No, your bike is not 50 to 1 mix. They're all different. Well, what is it? Well, it's 24 to 1. Well, I put 50 to 1, so that should be more oil. Nope, it's ratio backwards. Less is more. Oh no, and it burnt it up. So, kind of get a lot of that type of stuff, you know. And it's really what it comes down to is trying to make these bikes motocross when they're not ever going to be motocross. Just enjoy the bike as it is. So Kenneth, I would really recommend putting that bike back to what do you call it there, oil injection. It is honestly the way to go. And this way is going to allow you to just put regular straight gas in the tank and call it happy. Excuse me. Yeah, definitely do that because that is it's needed. It really is, and it also doesn't just lubricate your rotary valve. It also lubricates your main bearing. So definitely hook that back up. Put the work into it. Get that timing right. Because if you notice, all the bikes I do on the channel, they start right up, they run properly, and they're flawless. They have no issues. By any chance, is that a Tecumseh, Brian? If that's a Tecumseh, you well, even a Briggs, on the inside of the fuel tank there is a screen, and it's actually inside the tank. So you have to look inside the cap where the nipple is fuel line. I see those right there typically plugged up. Yeah, Tecumseh. Yep. So if you empty out the fuel tank and you look inside the tank, you're going to see a square screen. That screen right there always plugs up on those all the time. Plastic tank fills up a crap. It won't let the fuel flow. So definitely want to check that. Yeah, most likely wood chips. Plug on the tank, and that happens when all wood chips build up on top of it. Oh, I got to put gas in. I ran out of gas. You put the gas in, and when you're doing that, some dust and some wood chips go in there, and you're like, oh no, that's what happens. So I would definitely flush that all out. Make sure it's nice and clean. Tip it upside down. Look in there with a flashlight, and make sure that there's no debris. Oftentimes, me personally, what I do with mine is I take a screwdriver at Phillips, I poke it through the screen, I punch the screen, get the screen out of it, pull it out, rip it out with some picks, and I put an inline fuel filter because for some reason that is just a common problem with those machines. And realistically, it's gonna happen again. I'll tell you right now. But if you have enough fuel filter, at least you can pull the fuel line off, see if you get a flow. If not, throw the filter away, put a new one on, and off you go. And it'll save you all that work of doing all that. I don't know why they have. Oftentimes they have two of them. They have a fuel filter in the tank, which is that screen, and then they have one on inline. And if you're going to get one inline, there are two filters. There's a Briggs filter. It's a red one I use, and then there's a white one. I always use the red one. Pretty cool. Yeah, wood chippers. That wood chippers do that. The snow blowers do that. Tecumsehs are notorious for that. Oh, so, anybody working on any cool projects? Any cool bikes? I love seeing the bikes, guys. Once again, I love seeing them. I get emails all the time from you guys. Check out my bike. This is my bike. Oh, it's not done. I love it when I get someone. Oh, it's not done. It looks like crap, but here's my bike. It's not about how it looks. It's the fact that you're enjoying working on it, and I'm honored to help you with them. I love helping you guys with the bikes. I love it. I love watching you guys do them. I like watching you guys. This is my bike. I got it non-running. Thank you, Kevin. It's up and running. the videos came in handy. That's what I like. I love seeing that. Get a lot of that. People all over the world. It's been crazy. I just can't believe it. We're rounding what do you call it here? 48 what is it? Hold on one second. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick here. We have where we just hit 4,845 subscribers. That's pretty awesome. Thank you guys for all your support. Over 1 million views. That's great. So thank you guys once again. That's awesome. Thank you. I'm just blown away. I'm just blown away by it. Oh my God, I didn't think it was gonna be like this. Oh no, And now we're doing live chats, and it's just you can see the growth on the channel. It's amazing. And now we have a chance to hang out with you guys on a bike, bike ride. It's gonna be pretty cool. The G4 TR, what a great bike. That's not bad. You start off with a little checklist and just go right down through them. I sent some pics, but we can't do it. No, you can send it to my email address. I put it on there earlier. It's the Handy Motorman. If you scroll up, you'll see it. It's Handy Motorman 76 at gmail.com. And yeah, definitely send some pictures over. That's pretty cool. I enjoy seeing the pictures of the builds, and like I said before, it inspires me. I see an idea, I see something, I see a decal, I see a shift lever, I see a pad, on the handlebars. I see something, and that would look good on one of my bikes. So I look for that. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. It's an imagination because you get to see what's out there, and parts and pieces that are around here may not be in your area, and vice versa. Cool. I love bond finds. Bond finds are the best because you don't know. It's like a mystery. And if you get the bike cheap enough and the bike is junk, well then that's okay. But if you get it going with your own two hands, now that is amazing. I appreciate that, Patrick. Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you. Yeah, I mean that's what it's about. That's a perfect example. That's what we do. Give you the correct information. You guys see how I do it all on the channel. And if you guys learn from someone like me who's got the experience and been doing it, you see the fundamental ways I work, the way I channel the bike. I don't let the bike channel me and start doing this, and this. I pick a system and I work on that system. And when that system is complete, then I move on to the next system. So sometimes when I jump around, it's not really I'm jumping around, I'm just taking a peek. Like I wanted to see the carburetor on Elvin's bike. So I popped the cover off. Nothing crazy. I'm not going to go any further with it. I just wanted to see what was in it and what was there. Because if I have to order parts, I need to know. But it's pretty cool to be able to go through these bike systems, compression, ignition, spark. Compression, ignition, and go through the whole thing. Compression, ignition, and carburation, and you got it. That's it. That's all there is to it. So you go through each fundamental step by step. And then, of course, you have your electrical for your lights and that sort of thing. And realistically, when you have a bike that's been sitting like your barn find, can't talk tonight, your barn find, you don't know what you're getting, but it's really cool to be able to take a bike like that out of a barn that's been sitting for 20, 30, maybe 40 years and make that bike run and ride it. That is the best part. And it's yours. You fixed it with your own two hands. And I'm just your wing guy. That's all. That's my job. My job is to say, hey, this is how you check that. This is how you fix it. go, you know. And these are the correct tools. These are the specifications. Have a blast, you know. And you guys get out there and you guys start taking your 10 millimeters and your 12 millimeters, your 14 millimeters, and start ripping into the bikes. And the next thing you know, I get an email, a phone call, or text message. It's up and running. And I can literally see the smile on your face when that happens. And that to me is what this channel is about. Thank you, Jesus. I appreciate that. And you know, it's there's a lot of channels out there doing bikes, but I pride myself on making sure I'm doing my best to answer you guys' questions and communicate with you guys and just getting this information out there. And of all the KE 100 channels that are out there, I try to make sure that we have a community within a community. So we have the community of YouTube, but there's also the I have a Facebook page, the KE 100, KM, KD, MC1, KV75 page, where a lot of you guys flock to for information, stuff like that, ask questions. You guys find me on Facebook, a Messenger, and all that type of stuff. So there's a ton of ways to communicate with me, and I always get I can't believe I'm talking to Kevin Bridgman. I'm not a celebrity. I'm the same as you. I'm just out here turning wrenches, having a good time doing it, and teaching. And I really enjoy teaching you guys. So this is pretty cool. It's an opportunity. You guys might like doing what I'm doing and decide you want to pursue a career in being a mechanic and learn about it. This is exactly how I got started, tinkering with bikes. And it doesn't have an age group. Doesn't it has a will to learn and an enjoyment and a love for bikes. So it's pretty neat. It's pretty rad to be able to do this type of stuff. And we do it, and I try to explain things like I did using that bicycle wheel with the gearing, is when you can break down gear ratios and stuff like that in a way that you'd understand, like using a pedal bike wheel and about how you were when you were a kid, you could really take someone's mind and go, yeah, that's the same thing. Mm-hmm. Same thing. It works the same exact way. Now that's pretty super cool, I think. You know, so that's what we did with that, and it worked. I got a lot of good feedback on it, and I'm really liking doing the power series. So I'm gonna keep doing that so you guys can see. But my problem I have doing the power series, I feel like I'm knocking these bikes, and I'm really not. These are great bikes, and I enjoy the ones I have, and all of them, all the bikes, and they're small bikes. They're not big bikes. If I need a big bike, I jump on my 1100 Virago, and then that's my big bike. These bikes are not big. They are small, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. Embrace what you have. That's all I say, people. Embrace what you have. They're amazing bikes. They're going to last you a lifetime if you take care of them. You'll be able to pass these bikes on. And the fact is, they're vintage. That's the other thing. A vintage bike is worth its weight in gold. Someday, when these bikes get even older, they're going to be worth more money. Exactly. Thank you. Well said, Kenneth. Preserving these old bikes, passing them down to our kids. But you know what the main thing is? Learning how to fix them. Learning the old school techniques. Learning the old school stuff. Enjoying working with your own hands and building something epic. So that's pretty cool. And so not to change the subject on that, but so back on the Suzuki LT 125s, we're going to be doing our evaluations on that starting next week. We're going to start working on figuring out what they need, what parts are going to come off one bike, what parts are going to go on the other. And I'm going to do the carburetors have already been cleaned, and we're going to do first starts on those. I want to do first starts. I want to hear them both run, and and see what parts and pieces we could take from one, put it on another, and make one complete four wheeler. There's a gentleman who offered me his bike for $150. It's all in pieces and parts, so I'm going to jump on that. Um, we got a lot of stuff to do with these bikes to get these things up and going. So be pretty cool. The four wheelers, I got one from Harvey Spooner, and then I got another one um, shortly after that guy got rid of. So being able to take these two and make it one good four wheeler is going to be awesome. I'm not expecting to get two out of it. I'm expecting to get one. That's all I want. Just want one. Yeah, one go back, parts and pieces, and if I break something, I have it. Um, and it really comes down to what we have for parts and pieces that we can build it on. So that's always a fun thing. So I'm trying to think what else we got. So we got my DS100. We have to evaluate. Oh yeah, that was the other thing. I got my Yamaha Chappie. I dug that out. I got to figure out what's going on. There was a fuel leak on that, and when I put it away, it didn't quite run right. So we're going to, get back into that. I got the headlight assembly. I got directionals. I got mirrors. I've got a bunch of stuff for that thing. So I'm going to try to put that back together. I know the brakes, the back wheels are locked up, so we're going to pull that apart. I think that my guess, my best educated guess from experience, the wheel only turns halfway around, is I don't think there's anything wrong with the transmission. I think that the brake pad came off the shoe. So you get your half moon shoe, the aluminum. I think the brake pad separated from that and got wedged in with the other one. I think that's what's going on. So that'll be interesting. So we'll take a look at that Chappie, get that fired up. I do have a video of it running when I lived in Maine for a short period of time before we bought the house. There's a couple of videos on that. So if you look at my Yamaha Chappie, you'll see that on there. It's the LB50. It's a nice little bike, nice little Yamaha. It's a moped, nothing crazy. 49cc automatic, high and low, and it used to be pedal stop, but they deleted that. Oh, yeah, I'm so tired. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. We have trying to think what else we got going on. The Honda 50s, we got those. We got to switch out the engine on the DS80, and then we're going to tear that motor apart and get that thing going through. I think we should do that sooner than later, just to get that project done. Oh, and out back we have a bunch of parts that we have to take those parts and put them on the bike. So, how I do it is each bike gets a bag. Let me stop in the beginning on that. So what I do is at the end of the season, I write down on a piece of paper what each bike needs, and each bike gets a bag on the handle. And then as I get the parts, I bring them off back and I put them in the bag. So now I got a bunch of bikes with bags of parts, and they need to be installed. I also have to finish off the rack and the rack on the K100, and what do you call it there? We got to do the work on the GT80, which I'm going to be doing a whole series on the GT80 because we got another one. But I'm going to be putting that gauge cluster on there, the high performance cylinder head I already did. I got to do that again on Brian's bike. Oh, man, I need to take a shower and go to bed. I'm exhausted. It has been a rough day. And what's the other thing? I feel like I'm missing a bike. Oh, the white bike. We got to get that up to my brother to get the finish off the expansion chamber on that, and that's going to be a special bike when that's all set. And the back tailpiece there, that bike is not coming back. I mean, it's going to come back to finish it off, but it's not going to come back here. That bike is going to that's going to go back to him. He can have that. I just want the exhaust off. I got the other exhaust going onto it, and then that'll be all set. I'm I'm going to be doing a KE 100 Power Series once all the projects are kind of caught up. Not that I'm never going to be caught up, but once they kind of get caught up, we're going to be doing a how to get more power out of a KE 100 KM and KD series to get those out. And some of the stuff is pretty basic, pretty simple and cheap. Nothing too crazy on those series. So, I think anything else we got going on? We got we're gonna finish off Alvin's bike. Oh, we have Dave's bike to finish, which I said that already, and we have Robert's bike, his DT 400. Those parts are coming up. He's gonna be sending those to me, and so we have a lot of work on that bike. That bike we're gonna be going through top to bottom. Hey, that bike is gonna be beautiful when we're done. It's gonna be crazy. So that is a nice bike. Yeah, that is the DT 400. That is a big air cooled 2-stroke. That thing is a monster. That is a bike that will pull wheelie like nothing. And Robert is dumping money into this bike big time. He's not playing around. It's going to be a serious bike, and I can't wait to finish that one off. That's going to be a fun bike to ride. 400 DT 400. Well, sorry guys, I don't mean to keep you on, and I'm just burnt. We got right now it's snowing out. We got the propane heater in the tent there, which is nice. That I'll tell you, that thing is a lifesaver, especially when you're up there working in 30-degree weather. You get that heater. You guys get a heater. That's the one to have. That was actually a freebie. That was a guy dropped off in my scrap pile, and there was nothing wrong with it except for the striker. You push that like a grill, and then 2 weeks later, another guy drops off a grill in my scrap pile, and I just took the igniter off of it, put on that one. Well, the rest is history. And then works beautiful. Hold the little what do you call it there? Pilot button in, hit the striker, starts a little flame, hold it in for about a minute till it heats up the what do you call it there? The thermocouple, and then the propane comes in and just and that thing goes from 30,000 to 80,000 BTU. That thing gets hot, and I'll tell you, it is hot in there sometimes. Especially if I have to go out and look for a tool in the shed, and I leave that, and I'm like, oh my god, I got to turn that thing down. That thing will cook you. And it's great if you have a machine in there, and it's got a bunch of ice on it. Leave it in there for a few minutes, all drains right off. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. I got, let's see, what else we got going on? We got to change the handlebars on my Yamaha Breeze. Yeah. I want to make that thing a little bit more, call it there, accessible. So I want to have so I can put my clamps on it. Still got to get a clamp for my handlebars for my, what do you call it there? My Hero 4. I got a, what do you call it? GoPro. So I'm going to be taking you guys on rides with me, but I got to get some accessories for it. So as soon as I get one of those, that'll be pretty cool. And clamp you guys on, take you guys for rides. And, when we do the bike ride, I'm going to be shooting some of that trip. So I know a lot of you guys are all over the place. You won't be able to see that. You won't be able to come, but you'll at least be able to see a lot of highlights, and we're doing videos, and be pretty cool. So that'd be a fun thing. So working on all that. So nothing really too crazy. Nothing too crazy at all. And that's it. Really, just a bunch of videos that are coming up that are a lot of educational stuff. So it's gonna be cool. What I do is every time it snows, I go out there and I have a broom, and I just push on it and it all comes off. I don't let any snow accumulate on top of it. It can handle it, but I don't. I keep it cleaned off. And the other thing I can do too is if I turn on my heater, it just melts right off. So it's pretty cool. But those tents are pretty strong. They take a beating. It's one of those things you don't really want them to load up. You want to make sure you clean them off and keep them protected. If there's no snow on them, they're good. When snow gets on them, you can see it's all bubbled on the inside. But they do hold a tremendous amount of weight. So if you're thinking about getting one, there, great buy. Uh, the one that I have out there right now is a 12 by 12 by 20. Um, and I'll tell you, it does everything I need to. I have a lot of stuff in that thing, and I keep putting more in there, which I got to get better at. But of course, during the summer, my motorcycle and the four wheeler won't be in there; they'll be out back. So they're only in there for the winter. So they'll be out back, undercover out back. Then we put a lean-to back there, so I can put them underneath, to keep protected out of the weather. I don't like stuff out in the weather. I just doesn't. It's not good. So yeah, I'll be putting a lean-to back there, so I can put my bike and my four wheeler underneath there. And I have to make it big enough because I got the red four wheeler, so that's going to go under there as well. So I don't understand what the Sunday setting. Tony, I don't understand that last one. Oh, I got you. Yeah, yeah, the snow. Yeah, I just keep them cleaned off, and it's one of those things where, you know, it can handle a snow overnight. And just keep up with the inches. If you know you're going to be getting, if they tell you on the news, oh, we're getting 10 inches. Okay, every now and then get up and get out there and clean them off because you don't want to take a chance of that thing collapsing, especially on top of bikes and precious metals. Um, it only takes like 5 minutes to clean it off. Literally, you go inside and you push on the with the broom. Don't push it so it goes through it, but kind of just bump it up a couple times and it all just sheets right off. So it's a really cool thing. And I got the little tent too. I do the same thing. I zip it up, boom, 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 and it's all done. Yeah, Georgia. Yeah, you guys get the winds though, don't you? You guys get a lot of like hurricanes and tornadoes and stuff like that down that way. So yeah, you gotta those. That scares me. Yeah, that scares me. But there is so on these tents they have these big. They're like a foot long. Well, actually, it's not, no, not a foot long. They're longer than that. They're like 16 inches or so. Big spikes, and they screw into the ground. And I use my impact in a 32 millimeter socket. I put that into the eyelet. The socket goes over it, and I use my impact gun and just screw it right into the ground all the way down there. It works out pretty good. Then there's ratchet straps, so it doesn't move. It's held down to the ground, and then you can put spikes in each one of them. So it's pretty cool if you want to. Yeah, that thing it's got a lot of spacing, especially when my bike is gone. I'll be able to put the motorcycle ramp lift further in, and that's going to give us a lot more real. I might even put it at an angle. That way I can bring the bikes in, go and have more room on each side, and then move some of the benches down. I'm gonna be redoing it again during the springtime. It's just really a matter of figuring out how I want to do. So this was my first year with that, and so kind of just align the walls with benches and stuff, and then that right in the middle towards the end. So it's really just a matter of moving things around. As you guys know on the channel, things are always moving around. Things are always changing. You watch a video one day and you'll see this here, and the next video will be somewhere else. And it's just the nature of the beast because I don't know what's coming in. I haven't even used that sandblasting cabinet yet. I got a lot of pasta sandblast, and I just haven't had a chance to try it out. I got to do a lot of KU100 stuff. I want to sandblast the toolbox and the battery box so I can get those painted and get those all set up so we can start putting that bike together. get some welding done on the sprocket so I can get that back into the engine, get that all buttoned up. That's going to be nice when that's all on there. The gearbox, I got the gaskets for that, the custom shifter. So we have a lot to do to that bike, but it's going to be a fun bike when it's all done. And that bike's getting disc brakes. That the KE 102 is getting front disc brakes, and obviously the rear drum. Yeah. So tired. It's just working crazy, just crazy, crazy, crazy. And like I said, you just don't know what's coming in that door. You just don't have no idea. It's nuts. So, well, anyway, guys, I'm going to cut it short. I am exhausted. It has been a really, really long, rough day. And I also want to say thank you guys for hanging out with me on 2Stroke Tuesday. And we'll obviously do it again. This was our first one this year. And I am just exhausted, guys. It has been nuts. I did that video this morning in the house, in the laundry room, because it was so cold I didn't want to open up anything. Just, oh my God. Just, wow. Oh, you're very welcome, Jesus. Yep, sounds good, Patrick. See you guys next week. And once again, enjoy your bikes. Get out there and work on them. Turn some wrenches, Kenneth. Thank you. You're welcome. You're very welcome. I enjoy doing this for you guys. I enjoy the community and hanging out with you guys and just, doing a Romney. Thank you. Ronnie, sorry. Just turning wrenches, and that's what we do. We're a community, bunch of guys, bunch of girls hanging out, building bikes. And I can't wait to see where this new year is going to take us. Thank you. All right, guys. Well, as always, thank you again, and I'm out. Have a good night.